Hi, how are you?
Can we hear you? Hold on, sorry. So not volume coming up?
Yes?
Hey,
Gotcha.
can you hear us?
How are you?
How are you?
Fine, and you?
We're, we're
Good.
good. Thanks for having us.
So, my first question, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us what led you to become screenwriters and directors?
Sure. My name is Nick Psinakis.
Kevin Ignatius.
We are a co-writing, co-directing team. What first made us become writer-directors? I don't know. I think probably our love for movies as kids, maybe in the 80s.
80s kids. Yeah, and just love actually starting out with comedies. I mean, we did a lot of comedy, a lot of Funny or Die sketches, and that really brought us into that world. But yeah, we love films.
In a few words, could you can you talk about the story of your new film, Shit, please?
Go ahead.
Sure. So I think kind of inspired from some of those movies that we grew up with, but it basically it follows this extremely small town in northwestern Pennsylvania, and basically in the 1800s, a young girl found out that her father was having an affair and went to him to try to end it and save their family and tell their mother, and he refused to do that. So she kind of took matters in her own hands and killed his mistress, and he in turn then killed her. So now she is haunting this town, killing anyone that cheated, because cheating ruined her life. So that's kind of the broad, and we kind of pick it up in present day in this town, and that it's still going on.
Can you tell us how you divide your work on this film?
Yeah, sure. So as far as just writing, I mean, he and I, develop and get the script done together. We really hands-on together, work closely with, shot listing and production and everything. When it gets to post, Nick's an editor by trade, and then I'm also a composer, so I compose the music for the film, all our films as well. So he'll edit, he'll send me things, and the sessions, and I will handle music and sound design, and we'll work together on kind of shaping the film all together. So it kind of works well that way, that we split our expertise. So
can you share some insight into the inspiration behind Shit and how the concept of forbidden desires and supernatural consequences came about?
Sure. I think we were definitely inspired from the supernatural element by movies like The Ring or It Follows. I think also stylistically, like original John Carpenter's Halloween, we really enjoy, as far as kind of looking to that for some shot making and stuff. Yeah, kind of trying to go with the theme of maybe not showing too much on the screen, with the idea that, what the audience creates in their own mind when you cut away could be much scarier than what we could ever show you. So I think that's kind of how we started crafting and going down that road.
How did you approach creating the serene yet eerie setting of Silver Creek, and what roles does the location play in the overall atmosphere of this film?
As far as the location, how it helped the atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the location, I live in that town, that small town, and the town has really embraced us shooting there and doing productions there. So that's our second film we've done there. And it is very historic. It provides us with a lot of different elements, from, deep woods to the historic sort of rural vibe, town vibe, to college campus nearby. So we were able to create a college town for cheap, that world that we could kind of work in, and it was allowing us a fluid sort of process, for Nick and I to kind of work, and it was it was easy. I mean, weather was a little bit difficult, but we planned chronologically to handle that. So that location was key. It gave us a lot of unique moments. So
the relationship between Maeve and Charlie is a central element of this story. How did you develop and evolve these characters to defy expectation and evoke empathy from the audience?
I think it was an important relationship, and we were trying not to go down the maybe traditional cliches of the relationship of an older man and a younger woman. We were trying to make it more on a level playing field. I think that's why they find common ground in the fact that both of their significant others are away. They're not really with their significant others, but both have this kind of tough relationship where they might not be in love, but technically they're still together, and they haven't had that hard talk yet. So they kind of find common ground there, and then also they're both in this house together and potentially lonely. So we wanted it to feel, I guess, more real to life, and in a weird way, they don't really have regrets for what they did. I mean, obviously they do when they find out like what's going to potentially happen to them, but at that moment, and that's why the one line that people keep referring to is when Maeve says we're both adults. I think that says a lot about the relationship with them and what we were trying to, this more adult, mature.
They made those choices.
Yeah.
Even the film's score is a significant contributor to its atmosphere. Could you shed light on how you achieve the desired sonic experience?
The score.
Yeah. So I chose to. I was inspired. Nick and I always kind of talk about it too before, but inspired by John Carpenter. Inspired by sort of a synthesized driven. Those elements to push it along, but to also feel nostalgic of the 80s, a little bit 70s, 80s. And so I used Moog synthesizers a lot. I have all those, and really trying to build on low tones in certain moments, and then a lot of sort of sequence tones, that could kind of elevate scenes as well. So and sound design wise, some percussive, actual raw percussion I used as well. But yeah, for this particular film, again, inspired a little more by John Carpenter, a little definitely by Disaster Piece. We're big fans of him as well, so kind of went that route with this one.
It delved into the complexities of guilt and unintended consequences. Can you discuss the challenges and opportunities of portraying these themes in a supernatural horror context?
Well, I think supernatural is always tough in terms of kind of setting boundaries and rules, and how people can potentially attack or fight back against those things. So those are definitely challenges. As far as the guilt, I think we definitely wanted to play on the guilt a little bit. We've said we haven't wanted to tell people how to feel about it, but we feel that it's kind of a universal kind of, I don't want to say message, but a universal thing that people could kind of relate to.
It always exists like within us, whether we take stock in it or not. Right.
Yeah, so I think that was a way to hopefully touch on everybody, maybe connecting them to it or having them feel something. Maybe they didn't know exactly what it was, but hopefully that, we were able to accomplish that, I guess.
The film appears to bridge the gap between superficial scares and psychological depth. How did you balance these aspects to create a well-rounded horror experience?
Could you say that one more time?
Sorry. The film appears to bridge the gap between superficial scares and psychological depth. How do you balance this aspect to create a well-rounded horror experience?
I think that was vital to kind of have a good blend of them. That's what sort of practical and the scares themselves were. Is that what you mentioned? The scares? Yeah. Those were important to us to follow. Or to create our own sort of beat points to hit, make sure the scares were hitting at good moments in the pacing.
I think we definitely wanted to do both and marry the psychological and the more traditional jump scares. It was challenging and trying to pace it, but it was definitely a conscious idea and thought going in that's what we were trying to kind of accomplish.
Could you provide insight into the casting process and why you chose Corin Clay, Michael Thier, and Daniel Krotsky for the pivotal roles of Maeve, Charlie, and Lydia? About the casting.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we did basically we did so Michael Thier, who plays Charlie, is one of our good friends who we've also collaborated with before. So we kind of knew we had him in mind early on when we were writing the film. Danielle and Corinne, we casted by open casting call and videotape submissions.
And April
also, who played Clara, was the same. So we had a lot of videotape submissions, and I think we did a couple rounds of callbacks, but I think we were looking for honesty, but also a little vulnerability, especially with Corinne. We there's like an innocence to her that really resonated on screen for us, at least. And even with Danielle too.
Danielle as well, yeah. And she's she proved to be really vital for the film, for the cast, and sort of
and she had to kind of have a little bit of comedic relief too. So I think we were looking for that from her.
And April, her physicality in her role as Clara was fantastic. I mean, she was very committed through the production process. So they worked out great. So
nice. What can you tell us about the locations where you shoot this movie?
About the locations?
The locations, yes, of course. Yeah.
I think they were very important. They're very important. Like Kevin said, it's his hometown. So we'd like to shoot everything on location. We don't like to build sets if we could help it. Just feel like it's more authentic. And also the town is beautiful, but also kind of like an untapped resource. So I think it's fresh and hopefully original and feels real and lived in. And we just kind of prefer to hopefully blend into the town in that kind of way.
Which scene was the most difficult for you to shoot and why?
Ooh, I would say it's between I would say the warehouse scene. That set was difficult. It was cold. It became really cold. Winter was coming in, and it was very cold in that set, but we had to kind of do a lot of rearranging because we were originally going to do a baseball field, and it was just too cold to shoot outdoors. So we found this warehouse, and we got the okay, and we were able to move into there to get that done. But that was a long, cold day into the night. So
how did you strike a balance between delivering on original expectation and creating a film with broader philosophical undertones? The balance.
Can you say that last part again?
Yeah, sorry. How did you strike a balance between delivering on original expectation and creating a film with broader philosophical undertones?
So bigger and how do we balance between bigger and smaller?
okay, I get it.
I think we always wanted to feel bigger and feel like a bigger cinematic experience, but we are very indie and small. So I think a couple things that we do that is we do keep the crew very small, but we try to treat it like summer camp or like a movie. So we're all very much invested and kind of there along the whole journey together, and then also hopefully with our locations, it's very important, shot selection, lenses, to make it feel, bigger and broader, to kind of appeal, I guess, to a more cinematic space or a broader audience. It's always a challenge. I think we have to try as hard as we can to make it feel like something that we want to see, and hopefully not get too caught up in broad appeal or small niche appeal. But it's a challenge to do that.
Absolutely.
What specific visual and narrative element did you draw for the 70s to infuse the film with eerie subtitle?
So visual influences from the 70s.
Yeah.
What was
I
that?
guess, I mean, just from those films, I guess from like the
the
lenses
yeah.
alone, you know.
So we shot with lenses from the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, so that was one. I think how we colored it, how we scored it and did music, some of the frames and shot selection. And I think, I mean, I think story a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like some of the little monologues, you know, like Maeve at the window seems to be resonating with people. That long shot with the music.
And our cinematographer, Connor Smyers, he was really good. I mean, really great to work with. And he brought a lot to the table, and in creating and executing those sort of vibes, from that nostalgic vibes there. So
Shit is an haunting reminder of the past influence on the present. Can you discuss any specific historical or cultural influences that shaped the film thematic experience?
It's like sort of like cultural influences.
Yeah.
Cultural influences.
I think yeah, I mean, I think just we're in I don't know, I think we're in a time, especially in America, with sexuality and infidelity and all different types of relationships too, where people are in open relationships. People, you know, what does it mean to be married? What does it mean to be together? What does it mean to, I think all those things kind of came into, whether we knew it or not, kind of exploring that stuff.
Sort of a socio.
Yeah. Like kind of a, I guess like a look at all the gray potential areas, and we just thought that might be interesting to explore, and kind of felt like there was a lot of questions there. So yeah.
What do you hope audience take away from Shit in terms of philosophical themes, character arc, and its unique approach to horror storytelling?
Take away.
We just want them, honestly, to enjoy the ride. I mean, it's
Nice.
We want them to be entertained in the end. You know, we don't need them to walk away, you know, with you know, obviously with some thought-provoking things, or moments, but just feel entertained. You know, I mean, that's really what Nick and I are all about, is just giving them good entertainment. So.
And my last question, what advice would you give to your young adult who wants to become a writer and director, and which are your current projects?
So we always say, go make stuff, no matter what. Go out and just make your own stuff. Don't wait for anybody. And more and more people are saying that now, but it's very true. We've always made our own stuff. So any you know, buddy, to just do it, you know, and not ask for permission and not wait. We're going to continue making these films. We're hoping to make 2 in the next year, in 2024.
Nice.
In the same genre, different than Cheat, but in the horror thriller still space. But yeah, we encourage everybody, whether actor, writer, director, to just
don't waste time. Just go for it. Start writing, and you'll make mistakes, but just keep going, you know, because you'll get better every time you make them, you know.
Thanks a lot, Kevin and Knight. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Hey, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.